Welcome back to another episode on the Black Prosperity Podcast. I am your host, Stephen Gilbert Jr. I am the HAP Outreach and Training Specialist 2 at Indeed. And today's episode is about empowering communities through real estate and wealth building with Tamika Moses. Tamika, you are the local board president of NAREB,
Yes.
and you also are the CEO of Robin Bird Realty. Can you just give a little more information about yourself and how did you come to the name Robin Bird Realty? I think there's a story behind that, right?
Yes, it is. There's a story behind it. So my name is Tamika Moses. I am the local board president for NAREB South Florida, which is National Association of Real Estate Brokers, which is the oldest minority real estate trade organization in the country. So we have over 120 chapters, and we are the local South Florida board. We are the local South Florida chapter. So NAREB, I'm going to tell you a little backstory about NAREB. NAREB was started back in 1947. The reason why this organization was started in 1947 because Blacks were not allowed to be called real estate professionals or enter into National Association of Realtors at the time. So we had a great group of 7 men and 1 woman who came together out of Tampa, Florida, say, you know what, we're going to start our own organization. So when you hear the word realtist, that is us, NAREB. So NAREB, we are also not realtists, but also realtors. So after in the 1960s, we were able to now be called realtors, but holding to our heart and how we started in the forefront is becoming a member of NAREB, and we are a realtist. So we are operating as a realtor and as a realtist. So sometimes people say, what is a realtist? And we tell them a little bit about the backstory. So right now, today, we have probably about 25,000 members nationally.
Wow.
So we have a midwinter conference coming in February 22nd through the 26th here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And we also have our Realtist Week, which is going to be in April, from April 6th through the 12th. So our Realtist Week is a celebration of us as NAREB. NAREB, what we overcame for fair housing. We help implement fair housing discrimination. We help to implement all of those great things. So to overcome, will we be able to have Black wealth prosperity? So also we have the Community Wealth Building Day that we've been doing a tour on. So we're going to have another one in April during our Realtors Week that Saturday. And MD actually partnered up with us last year. We're hoping that MD partners up with us again this year. So it's an exciting time as we call ourselves realtors. So our national president, Courtney Johnson Rose, we are called the premier network of Black real estate professionals. So when you see us out, when you see this, you're like, let's go. And we are NAREB, so I wear this proudly. And you said also about my real estate company. So my real estate company, it was started in 2018. So Robin is my mother's first name. My mother passed away from breast cancer in 2013. She was instrumental in me going into the real estate industry because my original job was actually to be a sportscaster on ESPN. That was my original job. So, and then when I was coming home back and forth for fam, I just got engrossed in the real estate market back in 2003 because I'm like, all these home selling, and that's when everything was like jumping in the real estate market. So when I graduated, I wound up coming back home, and I just got into the real estate market, and I started as a loan professional, and then years later, I went and became a real estate agent. But my mother, she was very instrumental in me becoming going into the real estate industry. So when she passed away, I was trying to think of a name of my company. So I looked up the word Robin Bird. Robin Bird means passion, renewal, and strength and resilience. So that's what I embody. So I say, I am very passionate about what I do, about not only just for home ownership, but also people just having, our Black and brown people have a property ownership, especially in the commercial arena. And I just named it Robin Bird, and it just stuck because I just kept on driving around like, what is the name? And the red robin is very unique, what you see. So that's why that's why the name of my company is called Robin Bird Realty.
And that's an awesome story.
Thank you.
And to touch back on the sportscaster part of it, that's something that I did also in college too. So I can relate to saying, hey, listen, there's something else I want to do. There's another calling that I feel like I have. So just being able to be in a position that you are now, what are some tips or ideas that you may be able to express to someone like myself who would be interested in joining NAREB? How would I start? What would you recommend? Is there like a mentorship process? Kind of just walk me through that. How would that work?
So how that work is you would contact me, of course, the local board president. I would get you in contact with our membership director. Our membership director will make sure you pay all your fees and everything and get the welcome packet out to you as a NAREB, as welcome you to our organization, our local organization. We will, so when you're getting engrossed into NAREB, I always ask people, you can come on any committee. We have an events committee. We have a political advocacy committee. We have a social media committee. We have different avenues within our NAREB organization. We even have our own women's council. We have our young realtors division. And we also have a development side of us, which is called the NAREB Foundation. And they go out and help build homes and everything in the community. So I would add, then we will mention them as far as coming to membership meetings. We have different classes coming in. And then somebody may just say, you know what, it's an event. I want to volunteer. We have our volunteer that you can volunteer for events. Like we have our, we had our midwinter conference that's coming up in February, February 22nd to the 26th, like I said. So we put it out. Hey, you want to volunteer? Well, our community wealth building days. Would you like to volunteer? Because our community wealth building days, we have anywhere between 200 to 250 people that are interested either in probate, they're interested in even home buying, or what is the process, or even want to go into real estate investing. So we try to. So I don't call it volunteer. You get kind of voluntold.
Yep,
You get voluntold. That's how I was in NAREB. Oh, you are going to do this.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, okay then. And I always encourage new members when we have our national conference, which is coming up in July, go to a national conference. When you go to the national conference, you will understand it's a whole nother ball game. Now you're reading thousands of realtors from across the country, people who look like us and is celebrating us. And now you're like, I get it.
Right.
I get why we advocate for home ownership. I get why we advocate for generational wealth, especially in the Black and brown communities. I get why we are now developers, because we do have, on our national side, we do have our national president. She's a developer by trade. She started a developers academy. Now we're in the second and third, fourth cohort, and there's hundreds of people that are getting trained to be a developer. Like, listen, if we don't have the inventory, we're going to build our own inventory. So we keep our eye out for that type of thing. So when people get engaged and get engrossed, they're like, now I see why. Now I tell people I sit on the other boards, but I know what home is, and NAREB helped mold me to this.
And that's huge.
Yes.
And so let's talk about something, right? Let's talk about something real. And there's a real issue here, and that's in South Florida, the housing market.
Yes.
It seems like it's an unattainable goal for many of us who look like myself and you. What are some of the ways that we can kind of bridge that gap? How can we shift that mindset to say, you know what, hey, I can purchase a home, right? Especially in this type of market. What are some advice or tips that you may say to someone who's on the fence, right? Who doesn't really know which way to go? They've been renting pretty much their whole adult lifehood. You know, the family's been renting. We've been on things of that nature. So what are some of the things that you could say?
Well, I would tell anyone who's sitting on the fence to sit down with a licensed real estate professional. And I said, what I would tell them to do is come up with a game plan. Come up with a game plan. Sometimes we have to, I can't go get the cup of coffee. I may not be able to take so many trips. I may not be able to go on so many shopping trips all the time. But guess what? You're trying to do a short-term sacrifice for a long-term goal. So you have to look at things like that. So I tell people, I say, listen, we have so many different resources out here. We have different cities now. Some cities now are giving up to $100,000 in down payment assistance. We have MD.
You can give up to $28,000.
Exactly.
So.
And then I tell them, you can stack that money.
Man, listen.
And you can stack that money up. Think about now the lenders are coming up with different creative ways of how we get able to get you money back. You know, towards your closing costs. So I tell people, think about what you want long term. Think about how you're seeing now the prices are so high. I said, but guess what? The people are in those homes, they're gaining that equity.
Right.
They gain that. That's it. They could tap into that equity and go and get another property.
And that you just hit the head on the nail right there. It's the equity part.
It's the equity.
Right? Because we don't realize that when we're renting, we're just giving our money away.
You're just giving the money away.
Whereas when we're homeowners,
Yes.
We're creating generational wealth.
You
I have something I can pass down.
down.
Yeah, I could pass down a Section 8 voucher. Or yeah, I could pass down a.
But who wants that? But guess what? Now we in a new administration that wants to get rid of it, or say, you know what, you only on here for a certain amount of time. So within that certain amount of time,
You got to have a plan.
now you have a plan. Now do I have a plan to go back to school or get more education to get a better job? Do I have? Because guess what? You may have a time limit now. They're
Right.
they're thinking about doing a time limit. And I tell people, I said, you have to, the administration, and I said, these are things that's going to stop out if he doesn't get reelected. Guess what happens? It continues on. It continues on, and you have to say that, shift that mindset, because you may have kids or something that's looking up to you and say, you know what, I want to do X, Y, Z. I saw my mom and I saw my dad go through this, so I want to be able to do this. I saw what they did and what they overcame to provide for home ownership, and then I want to continue on. You want to be able to have that. You want to have that. You want to continue to build that legacy, and that's something that I want us to get, especially in the black and brown communities, our communities, people who look like us, like. No, I just want to. No, we can't be in that mindset. We got to get in the mindset. It is. It's a trap where it's just like social media. Okay, I can go out and go do this today on Monday, and I've been millionaire next week. No, you got to put in the work. You have to put in the work. We in a whole nother generation now. You actually have to put in the work of everything. And don't get me wrong. Miami has South Florida period has some very great opportunities.
Absolutely.
You have some very great jobs, everything, but everybody, I want to be an influencer. Okay, what if that doesn't work out?
Right.
You can be an influencer. So what do you fall back on? Now, this whole thing with AI, I said, listen, I have clients that do STEM teaching and everything. Get into that realm. Because if you're talking about a job that pays you a minimum of $150,000, and I'm like, look at these companies. I tell people, I said, they're like, well, how do you know? I said, read your South Florida Business Journal. Read your Miami Herald, your Sun Sentinel. They're announcing companies that are coming down here every single day. And guess what? What the cities are implementing, say, listen, if I allow you to come, you have to hire within.
Yep.
So and I tell people, I said, look how much you're saying that average starting salary is. It's nothing. I tell people, I say, you can still build wealth in real estate and still have 9 to 5.
Absolutely.
Do not let anybody trick you out of that.
Yes.
Because I see a lot of that on social media. Oh, you got 9 to 5?
It's frowned upon.
It's frowned upon for some reason.
It's
crazy. I tell people, I said, listen, if I had to do it all over again, I said, like, I would have kept it. I would have kept it. I said, because guess what? You not only you can leverage off your 401k, to build generational wealth, you have your health insurance, you have all these great things. So I tell people, do not shame anyone because they got a 9 to 5. I say, I've worked with plenty of clients that have a 9 to 5, but they have a full-fledged 20 units, 30 unit portfolio because they leverage their income. They're like, oh, I'm already setting this up for when I retire. So I have to worry about, I'm getting money for my retirement, but guess what? I got a whole multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio I've already built.
Right. So as the president, and the local board of NAREB, how do we have these conversations with us, right? How do we get more of us in the black and brown communities to have these real life discussions like we're having right now?
Yes.
Right? Because we live in an era where if it doesn't bring me instant gratification, I don't want it.
Exactly.
So how do we help mold and shift and change the direction? Say, hey, look, listen, you don't have to go out to the club this week. Hey,
Exactly.
You don't have to buy the new shoes that just came out. Don't worry about the fancy car. Guess what? That fancy car you just drove off the lot, that just depreciated.
Yeah.
So now you're negative versus positive. So what are ways that NAREB and MD can kind of bring this message and really drive home the importance of understanding creating generational wealth in the black and brown communities?
You know what? And somebody may say something, but I always say you need to start in the high schools. You need to start in the high schools. I think we need to start with 11th and 12th graders, even if NAREB and MD was to partner up to select different schools in different areas, lower income areas, whatever, and start implementing that message. So when they're coming out, they're thinking of a plan. I always tell people, get them while they're young. I say, get them while they're young. They're like, what? Get them while they're young. I say, because guess what's going to happen? They're going to go home and they're going to tell their parents about the conversation that they had. And the parents going to ask some more questions. I said, parents are always going to listen to their children. Let's start in the schools. Let's start in the school system, because now guess what? They have all of these different things coming at them. But when you're talking about this and you're talking about wealth, now they're like, wait a minute.
You talking about money. That's
money.
not, I might even say it again.
Exactly. And so I said, it's a whole nother generation.
Right.
I said, you only got to be 18 years old to go to a real estate school and test and get your license.
Yep.
You can start as an investor. You can start all these different things. You and your friends are already talking about getting money. Well, how do we get money the legitimate way?
Right.
How do we do X, Y, and Z?
How do we own the block?
Exactly.
Instead of beefing on the block that we don't own.
How do we own the block? How do we do X, Y, Z? How do we get land together? And I would say, I think that we need to start in the schools. We definitely need to start in the schools. I know that our YRD, which is our Young Realtors Division, they're going to be starting up in the schools, going to the schools, talk about different careers in real estate. They're talking about just real estate in general. Because when kids go home, they say, hey, Mom, I learned this in school today about real estate, So I'm like, really? What else did they tell you? Well, you can create generational wealth. Well, we got this house or whatever. What are we doing with this? Why would it? Because then it starts making parents think, like, who did you talk to?
Right.
Okay, then. Okay, I want to have this kind of conversation. And during our Realtors Week, we possibly maybe planning a roundtable discussion with the community. What are the things that what are the tools and everything that we can do? I know we'll probably do that on our Community Wealth Building Day, which is that Saturday. These are the different things that you can do to get into home ownership, even to real estate investing. Some people are sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars and don't even know it. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And it's funny. It's not funny you say that. It hits home.
Yes.
Right. Because we have these conversations. Grandma done left me the house.
Yes.
Grandma ain't tell me how to maintain the house. But Grandma said, hey, don't worry. You always got a place to stay. Now I have the home and I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
I have somebody that's calling me and saying, hey, they're going to give me $200,000, $300,000 cash. And all I got to do is sign on the dotted line. I've never even thought about that amount of money, and not understanding that the house is actually worth $500,000 to $600,000. So let's kind of talk about how we can also mold that kind of conversation as well, because there's a lot of us in the Black and brown communities that have been left properties, but we give it up because we don't know how to maintain it. We don't know the avenues in which to seek resources, right? We just see somebody throw a number out at us, and we just
And I see it happening a lot in our Black and brown heavily dominated communities such as Liberty City, Miami Gardens. We know in Overtown. We know in Fort Lauderdale, Sistrunk. Down here in Homestead. Down here in Richmond Heights. I'm seeing it all the time. And I always say, well, I got to pay a realtor. I say, I'd rather you pay a realtor than somebody come at you and say, I'm going to give you $100,000. And that may have been the most money they have ever seen. But guess what? If I pull up a comparable, the house across the street just sold for $600,000. The house across the street, the other house just sold for $650,000. Yours may be in worse condition. Well, you know what property that sold that's in the same condition yours just sold for $550,000. You're giving your wealth away because if you take this money, what is your next step? They're going back to renting.
Right.
You're going back to renting. Well, rent is still going up. So you go back to renting. Now you ran out the money. Now you're back to square one. Now what do you do? And these are the conversations that we have at our Community Wealth Building Day. We talk about probate. We talk about past due taxes. You have people that just that's losing their houses just because of taxes. Just on taxes, period.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Just on taxes, period. They losing their house on taxes.
Yes.
We've had across the country, we had NAREB people came up to our Community Wealth Building Days during our Community Wealth Building Tour and said, oh, I have this house. I'm paying taxes of $20,000. You know this house worth $800,000. Oh, I didn't know. Where can we get you a loan from to pay for this? Or how can we help you pay for this? Because somebody else maybe somebody offered me $100,000 to pay it. You're giving away your wealth.
Yes.
And like I tell people, I say all the time, I said, look at our areas, look at our Black and brown areas, the city, all of these other areas.
It's changing.
It's changing. It's changing drastically.
Quick, too.
Very, very quick.
Yeah.
Very, very quick. So I'm like, listen, you can sell, but don't have nobody come and
don't sell for pennies on the dollar.
Exactly. And I tell them, I said, this also because I service a lot of clients at home, multi-families in the Liberty City area. When I come in, I'm giving them the whole numbers. This the 10-year period. This is what we're gonna do over the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
This is the value of your property.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're gonna do. So that little $50,000 they just offered you, no, it should be a 4 or 5 in front of it.
We need, or we need 2, 3 more zeros
Exactly.
behind
because
it.
they're trying to just get you with a little bit.
Yeah, look carrying on the string action. Yeah,
you'll be all right.
Yeah,
you'll be okay. And I said we can't do that.
Before you know it,
yeah,
you get swindled, and now you're like, well, wait a minute,
what just happened? What just happened?
Yeah, and I think that it's.
And I tell people all the time, say, I ride through this area, and I've had family, and I lived in this area over decades and stuff. And I say the riches of our culture, and even investors who I work with, I encourage them to reinvest back in those areas. I said, because we look down, we can't look down on our areas when others are looking at our areas like, that's a gold mine.
It's a gold
That's a gold mine. That's potential. I say they're looking at it from an eyesight of, look what it could be within the next 20 years. We just look at it, look at it right now for 6 months.
Give me the ugly house in a good neighborhood.
Yes.
And I'm taking it 10 days, 10 times out of 10. Don't give me the pretty house in a bad neighborhood, because guess what? The value is not going to be the same. So understanding our communities and understanding our neighborhood, when we see, the construction going on, that's bringing money.
Yes, and I tell people, I said, I do a lot of, so people always ask me, how do I source a lot of my commercial leads or anything like that? I said, on a Sunday afternoon, when I know the traffic is light and I can listen to the games in the car, I said, I get in the car and I pick one area and I'm just going to drive it. And I say, because I can look everything up on Google. I said, but it's nothing like putting eyes on it.
Boots on the ground.
Getting in the car, you rolling down the window. I'm looking at the construction. You're seeing the Starbucks, the Dunkin' Donuts, all of these little restaurants. You like, well, wait a minute. Because guess what? When they do their due diligence, they have to have a certain demographic, a certain income within these areas. So now you know what's going on. So now, wait a minute. Now the values have changed now. Values changed now in the area because Starbucks, they just don't go anywhere.
Right.
Donuts don't even go. They got to do a demographic. They got to look at all that. They got to do this study.
Put themselves in areas to make money.
You're going down, okay, there's me a little raggedy. Wait a minute. Look how they just redid that fourplex over there. Look how they just redid their apartment building over there. Oh, look at the cranes over there. Oh no, okay then. It's looking a little better. So it's coming down. And then I go and I have the South Florida Business Journal with me, because they didn't pinpoint all the closings and all of the things that have been submitted for permitting, just like Lennar Homes. I told somebody, it's like, Tamika, you crazy. I said, I'm seeing the article. Lennar Homes just put in plans to the city. We want to build condos off of 37th Avenue and 79th Street near the railway. I said, y'all don't understand how big of a developer that is, how huge that is for that neighborhood. I said, you see Walmart. I said, don't be surprised. We already got a Target in Overtown. I said, don't be surprised. You look and see Target be popping up somewhere in all these other major stores. I said, all you have to do is go to a website and look at a city's 10, 20-year plan. It's going to tell you everybody who they came and presented, who no one is seeing in the audience say, hey,
right,
I object to that. I said, nobody said no.
Because nobody's attending.
Nobody's unattending.
Yeah.
And then you only notice it when it comes.
When it's too late. It's too late. The
value is going up.
Yep.
The value is going up. So I tell anybody, get in the car, ride around, see what's going on in your area. I said, you would be quite surprised. You'll be quite surprised at what's going on.
Hey.
I tell people, I say, I like my car has so many miles on it. I said, because I just drive. I drive different areas. I said from Dade to Broward, Palm Beach, sometimes up in Port St. Lucie, because they have a lot of land that's growing. I said, you have to read what's going on. The east side, the west side, Pompano. I said, look at all of those areas, especially when it's dominated in the Black community. I said, because y'all don't realize that Black communities actually sit on higher ground.
Right.
So if you sit on higher ground, wait a minute, we're not going to get as flooded.
Okay.
You see things starting to get inland. You see, I said, you notice that Wynwood is coming on the other side of 95 now. I said, you
let's
have
talk
to be
about
quality.
it.
So
Yeah.
I tell people that, I'm saying, look at all these major developments happening all of a sudden in Homestead. I said, when the things got priced out in Broward, you moved to Homestead. Now it's priced out. I have a friend of mine who I went to grad school with. He's sending me things because he works for a major developer. To make these sounds start at $600,000. Where? I said Homestead.
Yeah.
Homestead. Yeah.
People living in Homestead,
Yes.
working downtown.
Yeah.
Working in Fort Lauderdale.
Exactly.
You know, so it's understanding the landscape.
It's
right?
it's understanding the landscape. It's understanding now you have to look at your transportation. I tell people, I said, don't look at the cars. Look how the expansion of the highways are, number one. And I said, follow where the trains are going to be going. I said, because that's a huge thing people are missing. And they're like, what? I said, follow that.
Yeah.
I said, think about it. I could be living in Orlando, but what if I want to work in Palm Beach?
Right, you can't. You hop on the Brightline.
I hop on the Brightline.
Yep.
I go back and forth. Where I say, guess what? They do it all the time in New York.
Yep.
I said, think about it. People come in from Connecticut to New York every single day. They're like, you're right. I said, that's exactly what they make in South Florida. Now Amtrak has got another $300 million infusion. Thank you to Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, who was really an integral part of that. That's going to be expanded. I said, you got to look at all of these different things. Florida is exploding. So when people are trying to get into home ownership, I say leverage a down payment assistance. Now we need to get the down payment assistance in and say, this is what you need, 1, 2, 3, 4, to get people, so people can be like, wait a minute, now I didn't know I can leverage these monies to get into a property because it's going up.
And it's important.
Yes.
It's important to understand the resources that are available to you to maximize your return, right?
Yes.
So you don't have to come out of pocket X amount of dollars. Where if I know there's a program that's willing to give me $28,000, like we are,
yes,
right, and I can use that for my down payment or closing costs, and I can also combine that with other programs. You have banks that are giving out grants. You have all kinds of things.
One of us, Chase, it gives another $7,500. I'm like, you already at 30. I'm
for
like,
beautification.
Yeah, so you're already at about $35,000, $36,000 right there. So, so what we doing?
Right, and that's money that you didn't come out of your pocket
with. And some people, I don't want to stay there. I said, but guess what?
You pay first, last, and security. Add that up.
Yeah.
Just think about it.
Think about it. And I tell people, I said, think about it. I said, think about it. If your average rent is $3,000 a month, so that's what it is. That's $9,000. I said, 30 days later, you got to give people another $3,000. And I said, if you don't have it by the third of the month, they already got a 3-day notice waiting on you.
On your door.
I said, that's $12,000 in less than 60 days. I said, but you don't want to do this for a home that you own. Your name is on the deed.
Yes.
Your name is on that deed. That's yours. And guess what? Every month, your equity is going up because you got houses that's selling around you. And I tell people all the time, I say, your first house may not be your dream house. It's okay.
It's okay. Just get in the game.
It's okay. There's a lot of different opportunities. I don't want to move because it's okay.
Think about the long term.
Exactly. And so I tell people all the time, when you so back to our question, when you ask about what the thing, what is the goal? Write a plan out. In 6 months, I'm going to pay off my credit cards. And then I say it's a short-term sacrifice for a long-term goal. I just had my cousin. He called me the other day. He works for a big trucking company. He was like, I'm ready. He said, I know what I want to do. I'm ready. I've been saving up my money. For the last couple of years, I've been kind of stalling, but I'm ready. He said, I want my first property to be a duplex or a triplex. He said, because I can get in there
and rent out the
other side. He said, that can help me pay off pay the mortgage. He said, the money I pay for the mortgage, I would bank it every month. I would save it. So when it's time for me to go buy my next property, I got money. He said, but now I got an income producing property. And I was just like, you got it. He said, so now I'm on the plan, 3 to 6 month plan. I'm going to pay down all my credit cards. He said, I know exactly what I need to do. And he told me, he said, you've been on me. He said, but he called me one day. He said, I got it.
But you planted the seed?
Yeah.
You planted the seed. You nurtured it. And, he came to it when he was ready. You didn't push him out there.
And I did. And he told me, he said, you didn't push me. I said, I just planted the seed. And that was it. I said, I wanted you to marinate on it.
Right.
I just wanted you
We're going to bring you the information.
Yeah.
So you can make that decision, because at the end of the day, you're responsible for that payment.
Yep.
Not you, not I.
Exactly.
So it's definitely something that, we especially in the Black and brown communities, that we got to have more conversations on, more real conversations on.
Definitely more real conversations on, and because even you're seeing a house in Bush Park probably selling for $500,000-$600,000, and everyone's like, it's just a little box. I said, look how big that land is. They can go rezone it and put more property, extend their property, and then also put an ADU on there.
Yes.
I said, you have to think about the long term. We're looking at, I don't want to do this. Don't do that.
And we can even go a step further, right? Because you dropped the nugget earlier when you said the rent is due on the 1st, and you got to the 3rd to pay it. When you're a homeowner, it's due on the 1st, but you got technically to the 16th to pay it. So I'm just saying.
And that's everybody said they're gonna charge you a little late fee.
That's all right.
And then you call them about the 3rd, and then you say about the 3rd, they go y'all money. There you go. I said, you have a little problem. You can call your mortgage company and say, listen, I need you to push that to the back. Okay, then not a problem.
So again, what's stopping you?
What's stopping you? What is stopping you? It should be no reason to stop you. And I think that's a big fear. I think the prices have scared so many people in our community, but we just have to know how to leverage those programs. How do we do X, Y, and Z? And just get people out of the mindset. So you know what? Let's come up with a real plan. Let me sit down and come up with a real plan. This house may not be my dream house, but it's going to be my starter house. And I go on to the next property. And I tell people, I say, you have properties out here that do the conventional and FHA. I said, they finance your repairs. He's like, wait, what? I said, yeah. I said, the repairs even make the value even go up even more.
Yeah. And it's one of those conversations that we could really just talk about all day, because you're passionate about real estate. I'm passionate about real estate. But before we finish up today's episode, there's just a few more questions I kind of want to ask you.
Okay.
In regards to the young realtors, what is the age limit, and how is it the same process as applying to NAREB, or can you just expound on that just a little bit?
So as a young realtor, you can be younger. They don't have an age limit.
Okay.
It's young at heart. If you're fresh and new in the business, you're like, you know what? I really want to get involved and engaged. So we have a young realtors division. They go through the same process, and then they also have their own separate application fee as well, which is a small fee. I forgot how much it is to join their organization. So they also have their own membership meetings. They have their own different networking events. They have the collaboration events. They're doing something with the Miami Association. They're doing a lot of different things with the Broward Palm Beaches Association. So they have their own different things. So you're able to really get engrossed. They have their own investment series going on for young investors, because you want to know how to invest. How do I capitalize under this? I tell people, I say it's another administration. How do we capitalize? How do we strategize, mobilize, and organize and mobilize and get it together?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And how can we contact you, Tamika? Do you have a email address, telephone number? Are you on social media?
Yes, I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram at Tamika, Tamika, Moses, Moses _ My contact number is 954-404-4646. And my email address is my first name, Tamika, Tamika at Robin, ROBIN, Bird, BRRD, realty.com.
All right. Well, thank you, Tamika, for joining me on the Black Prosperity Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to communicating in the future. So thank you for that.
Thank you, and I'm hoping that MD is partnering up with us again for our Realtors Week, so we can make that a very big event. That very big week as well. We're planning out 3 great events, so we're hoping that MD can be able to come in on a Community Wealth Building Day, and we'll be able to get more homeowners this year in 2025.
And that's the goal.
Yes.
And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna stick to it.
Yes.
So thank you again. This is your host, Stephen Gilbert Jr. I am the HAP Outreach Training Specialist 2 at MD, and this concludes the Black Prosperity Podcast.